Your birthday is fast approaching. According to global research data, more than 25% of adults feel absolutely nothing but intense anxiety or complete indifference on their special day. Why do millions of people silently dread the single day that the entire world tells them they are supposed to love? What deep psychological secrets are hidden inside a brain that completely rejects its own celebration? Someone casually asks you what great plans you have to celebrate it. You calmly respond with something that, for some strange reason, completely baffles everyone around you. Nothing. It is really just another normal day. Suddenly, a very curious thing happens right after you speak. People immediately start looking at you in a very strange way. Your closest friends honestly believe you are being incredibly negative. Your family members instantly assume you are in a terrible mood. Society seems to deeply believe that if there is no cake, no burning candles, and no smiling photos, something must be fundamentally wrong with you. But what if there is absolutely nothing wrong with you at all? What if the fact that your birthday means nothing to you actually reveals something incredibly fascinating about how your mind works? Psychologists have spent years studying this exact behavior, and they discovered something completely unexpected. The individuals who do not care about their birthdays are not all the same. In fact, they usually belong to three very distinct psychological types. Some learn from a young age to never expect anything. Others simply have a brain that processes reality in a completely different way. And a small group arrived at a profound conclusion that most people find incredibly difficult to accept. Let us begin with the very first group, because this specific group almost never speaks about it openly. There are people who completely stopped celebrating their birthday, not because they wanted to, but because they learned to expect absolutely nothing. In the 1960s, the famous psychologist Martin Seligman discovered a powerful phenomenon that he called learned helplessness. When a person experiences repeated disappointments without ever being able to change the outcome, the brain begins to do something very curious. It completely stops trying, not because the person is weak, but because the brain is desperately trying to protect itself. Birthdays can easily become a dangerous kind of emotional experiment. When we are small children, we expect very concrete things to happen. We expect people to remember our special day. We expect to feel deeply special. We expect that specific day to feel entirely different from the rest of the year. But when those intense expectations are broken over and over again, the human brain begins to drastically adjust its future predictions. Here enters another fascinating discovery from modern neuroscience. Researchers like Wolfram Schultz demonstrated that dopamine does not just respond to rewards. It responds to the exact difference between what you expected and what actually occurred. If you expect something wonderful to happen, and it does, your dopamine levels spike. But if you expect something big and it never happens, the emotional drop is even greater. So with time, the brain learns a very simple lesson. It is much safer to expect absolutely nothing at all. And when someone says it is just another day, it is not true indifference. It is a form of protection. It is a kind of emotional armor built piece by piece over many years. But here comes an incredibly curious point. Not everyone who ignores their birthday does so because of deep wounds from the past. There exists another completely different group of people. There are individuals who sincerely do not even remember their own birthday. It is not because they are sad. It is not because they are avoiding something painful. It is simply that their mind is entirely occupied with other things. Psychologists call this specific state temporal blindness. It is highly common in people who live deeply focused on big projects, intense work, or grand ideas. When your mind is constantly focused on solving complex problems, creating new things, or moving fast toward massive goals, dates begin to lose all importance. The days blend together. The weeks pass incredibly fast. The calendar stops feeling like a clear structure, and certain events end up filed away by the brain in the category of not urgent. It is the exact same place where that dentist appointment you have postponed 3 times lives, or that massive to-do list that never actually ends. It is not a lack of self-love. It is simply that your mind is occupied with too many complex things at once. But there is a third group, and this is probably the most interesting one from a psychological perspective. These unique individuals do not forget their birthday, nor do they ignore it due to deep pain. They simply do not need it. They've observed the entire traditional ritual of birthdays, the candles, the congratulations, the forced celebration. and they have arrived at a very simple conclusion. They do not need it to feel good about themselves. Psychology has an incredible explanation for this. The researchers Edward Deci and Richard Ryan, creators of the famous self-determination theory, studied for decades what truly makes human beings happy, and they found something curious. People with the highest level of psychological well-being do not depend on external events to feel good about themselves. Their deep sense of personal value comes entirely from within. It does not come from a concrete date, it does not come from a party, and it definitely does not come from 30 people singing an uncomfortable song to them in a crowded restaurant. These individuals deeply understood something that the researcher Philip Brickman called the hedonic treadmill. This is the endless human tendency to constantly chase the next special moment, the next big achievement, the next celebration, the next short peak of intense happiness. But those emotional peaks almost never last, so some people simply choose to step off that wheel completely. They do not wait for one special day a year to feel important. They have learned to feel completely whole on a random Tuesday. And curiously, that can make other people feel incredibly uncomfortable because it breaks a very widespread societal belief. The idea that everyone should want the exact same things, that everyone needs constant attention, that everyone wants to celebrate. But it is not that way at all. Some people simply already resolved that big question deep inside. Yet, not all people who avoid their birthday do so from a truly healthy place. Some do it for a very different reason. Imagine this clearly. You are 8 years old. It is your birthday, and you have been waiting for weeks for this day to arrive. You have excitedly told absolutely everyone about it. In your head, you imagine bright balloons, great gifts, and many people gathered together just for you. And when the day finally arrives, everything feels so much smaller than you expected. Perhaps someone incredibly important to you never appeared. Perhaps someone forgot to congratulate you. Perhaps nobody seemed quite as excited as you were. And something shifts deeply inside of you. You do not make a big drama. You do not say anything at all, but you silently begin to lower your expectations. The following year, you expect a little less. And the year after that, you expect even less. Researchers from Johns Hopkins University discovered something called the anniversary effect. Our brain does not only remember certain calendar dates, it also completely revives the intense emotions associated with them, even if many years have passed. That disappointed 8-year-old child is still living deep inside you. But there is another fascinating phenomenon. The psychologist Jennifer Crocker from the University of Michigan studied something called the contingencies of self-worth. She discovered that some people actively avoid situations that could potentially confirm their deepest fears about themselves. In other words, some people stop celebrating their birthday not because they do not need it, but because they fear that if they celebrate it and it does not turn out perfectly, that will confirm something deeply painful about their worth. So they strongly prefer to not even try. It is a powerful form of automatic self-protection. And the difference between these two things is incredibly important because there is a massive difference between not needing the celebration and wanting it, but not allowing yourself to desire it. If you are someone to whom your birthday means absolutely nothing, ask yourself something with total honesty. Is it true freedom or is it deep fear? Only you truly know the correct answer. But the simple fact that you are reflecting on it right now already says a lot about you. Because perhaps we have been measuring wrong what it truly means to love oneself for many years. They taught us that celebrating means that you matter, that throwing a big party means that you value your life. But perhaps true self-love does not always look like a loud party. Perhaps sometimes it looks like something much more silent and peaceful. Accepting that one more regular day on the calendar is already more than enough. It is highly possible that someone watching this video passed their last birthday completely alone, and yet they felt perfectly at peace. If that person is you, you are not broken at all. You simply belong to a unique group of people who do not need external permission to feel complete. And if this video appeared today on your screen, perhaps it was not a random coincidence. If you have ever passed a birthday without celebrating it and you felt perfectly fine, you can leave a quiet comment below. And if you are deeply interested in these fascinating topics of human psychology, subscribe right now because the very next video could explain something more about you that you still have not discovered.